Given the age of the BVR kits that we have, the issues around power management, and with power management, we have the internal batteries as well as the external batteries. So in the event that, of course, the external batteries are working as backup, and in some cases we're relying much more on those batteries. So what the Commission is trying to ensure is to have, as much as possible, all the kits on full power supply in the course of the day, during the registration period. We're also acquiring additional batteries for some of the kits that we think, especially for far-flung areas, northeastern and eastern region, as well as North Rift in Turkana, because you need constant supply of power in those particular areas. Again, we want to underscore the point that during this exercise, we are seeking to register persons who never registered as voters between 2012 and 2016, as well as people who have recently acquired national identification cards and are of voting age. Requirements for registration: again, you must be 18 years of age, you must have an original national identification card or a valid Kenyan passport, and you must present yourself physically at the registration center because we want to take your biometric features, and in this case, the fingerprints. And there was a question around the use of waiting cards. You should also be reminded that the use of waiting cards for purposes of registration is no longer valid. We do not use waiting cards in the registration of voters. It was there prior to the 2013 general elections, but following the amendments that were effected last year, this provision was actually removed. That was section 5 of the Elections Act. It removes that particular provision that requires people with waiting cards to register as voters. And the logic is very simple. There's no identification number on the waiting card. And yet you are telling the same person that when you show up at the polling station, you must show up with the identification document that you use to register. And this, you show up with the identification document that you use to register. So if you show up with a waiting card, there'll be some disconnect. So that's the reason why that provision was also removed, because there's also the risk of abuse. With respect to registration points, in order to increase access, we say that we have allowed our registration officers to open the kits at the constituency level. This means that whenever you find a kit within the constituency, you may register as long as you intend to vote in that particular constituency. We also need to clarify that for requesting, if you're requesting for transfer, you want to move from one constituency to another constituency, you may make your application at our constituency offices. However, it must be that constituency that you seek to transfer to, not where you are coming from, but where you intend to go vote. That's where you go to make your application for transfer. But there's something else. You may want to change particulars or the details with respect to your voting details, including name. You may make those changes whenever in that particular electoral area that you intend to vote. However, those changes can only be made upon application at our constituency offices, not at the polling station. I also wanted to report that last time when we talked about this matter, we did not talk about Huduma centers. We are going to open the Huduma centers that are available across the country to still offer registration services. The voter registration in this particular place will be open to the county level. So that means that we'll be having additional centers for registration, courtesy of Huduma centers. Now, there's an important issue we also wanted to mention, and this is with respect to Mandera East and Lafay constituencies. These are two constituencies that were created by the Commission in 2012. However, when we went to the elections, there was a High Court decision redrawing the boundaries for these particular constituencies. So we went to the election with the boundaries as approved by the High Court. But the applicants went to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal reversed the decision of the High Court, meaning we go back to where we started from, to the boundaries that the Commission had gazetted. So for this coming election, we are going to go to the election, or Mandera East people, Lafay constituency people, are going to go to the election on the basis of the boundaries as gazetted by the Commission in 2012, and not the boundaries as of the election of 2013. So that means we have to change polling stations in terms of coding and location. So the people of Mandera East and Lafay must be assured that those changes are going to be they're going to be effected, especially in our BVR system. At the moment, what we've requested of our officers, as you register the people in those two constituencies, make sure that you capture the details correctly. And this includes giving them a slip that reflects the new boundaries, in as much as our BVR system has not been configured to accommodate that particular aspect. The challenge was that for you to be able to make those changes, you have to affect all the other kits across the country. So those changes are going to be effected after the registration is complete. I know some of you may want to know about the figures in the last 2 days. I want to also tell you that given that we were just starting, the first day had a lot of logistical issues that we had to grapple with. We've requested our officers to give us the data in terms of how far we've come, and we had promised that we'll be updating the country on a weekly basis. That means you allow the officers to register, then they will be able to process the data and send it to the headquarters for purposes of public consumption. But a quick run through in terms of the counties, when you look at the initial figures, not all the counties have reported, or all the regions have, not all of them have reported. You get a feeling that we're only doing 2,000 voters per day per county. Or on the first day, we were able to register 2,000 voters per day per county. That was the first day. We are hoping that those numbers are going to go up, and they actually must go up if we have to achieve our target. Again, we have also stepped up voter education to ensure that people understand the process. 2 voter educators per ward have been engaged. You are seeing more media messages around this campaign, and we also want to appreciate the media houses that have taken the initiative to actually go out of their way to promote this particular campaign. We also want to appreciate the effort by the various actors in mobilizing citizens to register as voters, and this especially the political class. We've seen that effort, which we totally appreciate. However, we also strongly advise against using the IEBC brand logo on your posters, especially the aspirants, because it might give a false impression that the Commission has endorsed those particular candidates. So use the slogans that you want to use, but as much as possible, distinguish what you're doing as an aspirant or a candidate from what the Commission is doing, because we serve all persons who are interested in our services. I want to also say that from next week, 23rd to 29th, we are going to have a national campaign under the auspices of what we're calling the Annual Voter Education Week. So the IEBC officers will be out there with their partners, undertaking a high-profile mobilization to ensure as many Kenyans as possible turn out to register. Now, there are some people who are saying that, why are you undertaking this activity way before the elections? You know, preparing the register of voters is a process, and it's a legal process. So operationally, we are gathering data from the field, but you must convert that data into a credible register of voters, and it's a process. So in this respect, after this exercise, after the registration that will take place up to 14th of February, we expect now to collect all the data from the field at the Nairobi headquarters. We're going to process that data through a process we call matching and deduplication. Basically, running the data of every voter against every other record that we have in the system, so that we ensure that at least we do not have people who appear twice on the register. And after that exercise of deduplication, we'll be able to generate a report which we'll send back to the field, to our registration officers for each constituency, to confirm the details as reflected in that particular report. Once we are certain about the content of that register, we'll subject that register to public scrutiny through a process we call verification. And unlike before, this time around, verification will happen with including biometric data verification. So for us as a commission, therefore, we are supposed to avail biometric kits at the registration centers for the public to verify that they actually have their biometric data captured and indeed they are registered voters. That process will start on the 10th of May this year for a period of 30 days. Once the verification exercise is complete, the Commission will collect the information and use that information to prepare the final register. And the final register will be final because we will have certified it as a final register and made it public. So it's a process that we must follow, and we want to urge Kenyans to be patient, but also do their part. You register now, so that when you're processing the register, your name is actually included in the register. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, of course, conclude by saying that the Commission is pleased with the turnout and public interest in this process, and we hope at the end of the day all of us will succeed by seeing the targets that the Commission had said being met. So with those many remarks, I want to open this up for questions. Any more?
We'll check a few questions, and as usual, kindly remember to give us your name and the media house you represent. Okay, yes, Judy.
Judy Kaberi, there's been, we've seen some figures on social media trying to show the number of registered voters in different parts of the country. And you told us so far what you have is about 2,000 registered voters among the 47 counties. Would you be a bit more close to what you have, so that at least we're able to count the voters?
Okay, we'll take another one. Yes, please.
Ruhusu niulize kwa Kiswahili. Naitwa Rajab Abdulkadir, Radio TFM. Nataka kujua kuhusiana na hili swala la Mandera, maeneo bunge mawili, Lafe na Mandera Kaskazini. Right. Hususan umezungumzia Mandera Mashariki kwa ndani. Umesema kwamba visa 68 peke yake vya mashine kutofanya kazi vimeripotiwa kufikia sasa, ama siku ya kwanza. labda ikiwa utatueleza tu kuhusiana na sehemu zipi ambazo zimeathirika pakubwa, manake kuna visa ambavyo vinatokea katika yale maeneo bunge mawili ya kwamba siku ya kwanza hii shughuli haikufanyika licha ya mashine kuwepo, na vile vile kuna hili tatizo la sehemu ya usajili kubadilishwa mara kwa mara. Unaenda hapa leo, kituo kimekuwa hiki, kesho ukienda pale sehemu imebadilishwa. Kama unaweza zungumzia hilo nitashukuru.
Shukran.
Jina langu ni Dennis, nafanya na USTFM. Kuna namba ambayo inajaribu kuambia Wakenya watume ID namba yao ili waweze kujua iwapo wamesajiliwa. Je, tume imetoa nambari yoyote ambayo inakubalika kwa Mkenya kutuma ID namba ajue kama amesajiliwa? Namba yenyewe ndio hii 6363 6363. Je, hiyo ni namba ya tume ama hapana?
Okay. My name is What's the name? I'm just concerned. You said that you are going to the current Huduma centers are going to be used for the same services, and you are going to open centers which in every county which will act as Huduma centers. And my question is, the BVR kits, are they going to be, did you distribute in every polling station, or is the registration going to be taken as in every polling station, or how many BVR kits you allocate in every ward? And if they are not enough, if the registration is not going to be taken as in every polling station, why do you add the Huduma centers instead of adding the BVR kits in every ward? Because like mass registration early last year, there was a complaint, a very complaint that my friend raised. We got like a village mama from Shamba and Pale. Then like today we were here, tomorrow we are told that we are in other side.
Yeah, I get your point. Now, quickly to respond to some of the issues, Judy, I've not looked at social media to see what figures you're talking about. One is that there will be no official figures out there other than official figures issued by the Commission. Let no one pretend that they have figures out there. There's no way. It's only the Commission that is able to generate those figures and share. Now, there are two ways of how we get figures. One is we have to coordinate with our field officers from the registration center to the ward level, to the constituency, to the region, then to the headquarters. That's a long process, and that's what I'm saying, especially on the first day, it will have been too much to ask the officers in the field to actually push that information when they were still trying to acclimatize themselves for the process. But this should be possible towards the end of the week. Now, the second bit is, and those figures, we'll consider them as provisional or indicative figures. Then there'll be the second level of figures. These are figures that have been obtained from the BVR system. So that means that the figures have been processed through our regional data center, then pushed to the national data center. Am I right? Yes, data center. So we're able to obtain, in actual terms, to know what is it that is actually in the database. So there can be no other legitimate figures out there other than the figures that have been issued by the Commission. And we also, and so far the figures that we only issued were targets against counties, and that one you'll find on our website. So with respect to Mandera East and Lafe, you are saying that no registration took place in those counties, in those constituencies, because of lack of kits. The position in Mandera is more complex, and it has got much more to do with the position of polling stations as opposed to the number of kits. And what we had done on the eve of the commencement of this registration exercise, we had a consultation with the officers in the field, and given the sensitivities with respect to the location of polling station, we told them to wait on us until we provide guidance, policy guidance in terms of what they need to do. From where we sit now, they're in a better position to begin the exercise, to actually continue with the exercise. If they started much late. And arrangements will also be made to ensure that any day lost is also compensated appropriately. And at the moment, I also want to assure you that we are speaking to the leaders from those two constituencies to also help us to communicate the right information to arrest any fears around registration. The kit movement, really this is about scheduling. Now we have 1,450 wards. We have 24,613 registration centers. It was not possible for us to provide a schedule in terms of kit movement at the national level because of the local dynamics. Now we are talking about drought in some areas in northeastern. It's very difficult for us to tell in advance in terms of where we are likely going to find potential voters. So what we told our officers in the field is to plan together with the local leaders and local stakeholders to ensure that all the days are catered for in the schedule in terms of kit movement. And one thing I also want to say about the kit movement. Once that schedule has been agreed upon, a kit will be it's supposed to be in the place that has been agreed upon by all stakeholders. Do not suggest moving the kit to a place it's not supposed to be without the consensus of all the stakeholders. And we saw this happening on the first day, some places in Nairobi and some places in Mombasa. The reason is basically simple. It's for us to be consistent, okay? For us to be consistent and to have all the stakeholders on board. The number, 6363 is not our number. 6363 is not our number. And I think today I also saw another number that had 3 something. It's not our number. And if you read the email, the SMS around that number, I even don't think it originated in Kenya. It sounds more of South Africa, because South African calls their commission EC and their voter register as list. So that's how close it can be to the South African. Our number, which we used in terms of piloting, and we are going to have a special campaign around this, especially when we approach the verification period, is 22464. 22464. So at the right time, we'll be able to get this communication going out. Because based on the pilot, we got some feedback in terms of what we needed to improve on the SMS feedback that you get once you key in. And our technical people are working around this so that when we are ready, Limo will be able to lead us on that. Lastly, Huduma, Nelson. This light is too bright. Huduma, you know, ordinarily we've had our officers stationed at Huduma centers across the country to provide the service. And from the conversations we've had with different stakeholders, that request of Huduma came up because we told with the idea as to whether to close those centers or to make them available. So you realize that in places like even Kisumu, people are registering for IDs, and the others who are collecting IDs. So they are hoping that as soon as they pick their IDs, they can be able to register with our officers. That's the rationale, instead of them now going to look for the kit somewhere else to register. And I think from the numbers that we have, we think is reasonable, is a common sense thing to do given the context that we are working in. Any response from my colleague? Anything else? Okay.
Mine is a follow-up.
Your name, man?
Max, welcome. As a follow-up to this question, can you give us a combined
no, you've already got. Let me get that one first.
Okay. Maswali mawili ningekuuliza. Kwanza tunasema kwenye IEBC. Ni mpango gani kwa wale Wakenya ambao wanataka kujiandikisha na
wako nje ya nchi. And then my second question was here, in case you don't meet your target and you get, is there an extension?
Let's listen to one more.
Mine, Samuel Ramtu from Radio Citizen. Mine is in addition to Maxwell's. For the last 2 days, we've had an average of 2,000. For us to meet the 6 million dead target, what do we have a daily target for that?
Maxwell?
Samuel.
Yeah, I don't know, do you want to respond to me? Yeah, with respect to the Milele FM gentleman, you're saying we give you the figure? Approximately. Just do the math. Just do the math. Do the math. And you know, at the county level, I said on average you'll get 2,000 per county. In fact, about how many counties have not reported?
4.
4 counties have not reported, and I'm talking of a total of 82,000 on the first day, approximately. Hey, Chief. No, it wasn't really a report for you, but I'll tell you, Tana River and Lamu, for obvious reasons, because of the logistics, Turkana as well, Laikipia, and I think that is it. Yeah, so those are, because of logistics, we're not able to get that information. 82,000. However, for us to be able to meet the target of 6 million, we must not perform less than 200,000 people per day across the country. 200,000 people per day across the country for us to get to 6 million target. If you want to get more, that number must go up. So what we are saying is that let's try our level best, mobilize as much as we can, and ensure that we're able to meet that target, because it's possible. Given that that was day one, perhaps that could explain the low number, and we want to monitor. We expect that the number will be going up even as we approach the closure of this. Yeah. The next question was about people who are outside the country. Is it the diaspora? The diaspora, we said the other day that we intend to commence registration for the diaspora population after the conclusion of this one on the 14th of February. And the reason was also simple. We have not decided on which country to go to. Given the sensitivities around that matter, we said we'll wait the decision of the Commission, and in this respect, the Commission with the new commissioners. So we'll be able to communicate with the country, which will be the subsequent countries that we're going to register in terms of the diaspora. And that will be done in consultation with the critical stakeholders. Extension, from where we sit, we don't foresee any extension. We don't foresee any extension. So if you've not registered during this period, you may be excluded in the voting. And the reason is because we have some legal timelines that we must observe. And that means we must at some point close the registration exercise so that we get to fulfill the conditions as in law. Maxwell? That was the daily... Yeah, I've just answered that question already. Yeah. So, thank you. Unless it's I'll take out to my colleague.
Audit reports are registered, which are dedicated with start January. Then there was a court case. I don't know what happens to that process of auditing our ministry.
Okay, and you've reminded me. I'll say two things. One is that there were certain timelines to be observed with respect to the audit of the register of voters. given the challenges around identification of the professional firm, the matter, of course, is in the court, and we have no control over that matter. As we speak, we do not know when that case will be concluded, we do not know when we'll start the audit, and we do not know the implication of that audit, that delay in terms of election preparedness. My prayer is that the the potential conflicts or disagreements that can be sorted outside the court, perhaps we need to explore those opportunities so that we're on the same page as we prepare for the elections. Number two, I'll also talk about a caption that I saw in the Standard today on page 3, a report about the procurement of the technology that we were supposed to use in the election. There was a complaint that was filed with the Public Procurement Review Board. And that complaint, after of course we spent a lot of time waiting to be heard and to make our case, because we believe we did the right thing, it took time, about 11 days. It forced us to postpone the opening of the tenders. We had 7 days to open the tender by the time the matter was filed. So yesterday, the review board actually closed the matter. And the reason for closure was that the applicant had decided to withdraw the case because we think we had a strong case. So they withdrew the case, and for that reason, we had to go back to the drawing board. The review board directed that we now advertise the extension of the opening day for a period of 14 days. So our 7 days now became 14 days. That's going to eat into our timelines. But the reporting today was not fair. Paragraph 2 of the report indicated that the review board found that IEBC flouted procurement laws. There was nothing in the decision of the court, in the decision of the board in that matter. While we have had our own challenges in the past, this commission is a different place. We are strengthening our system. We are far much better off, and the people who come to us to know how we are doing our business. So at least if there's reporting, let there be fair reporting on this matter, factual reporting. And if it's factual, even if we were on the wrong, we will not complain. But the impression created was that we flouted the procurement law, and that's why the board had to extend the tender. Far from the truth. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. You'll get a copy on your way out, and in case you need any clarification or an interview, the officials are always available upon request. Thank you. And if you need a soft copy, kindly make sure you fill in the registration.